there's moments where she's told me to use my voice, even when it shakes. Because there are times when we just, it's not that serious. I won't say anything. It's all serious. Okay. And we need to say something because if we don't speak up for us, who will?
Like I just spoke at Women Automotive, and I mean, the number of women of color that pulled me aside and said, oh my God, thank you so much. Thank you for being up there and sharing some of our story. Like that keeps me motivated for sure.
What I learned from her is don't apologize for who you are. Elena showed up and she let you know this is what we're doing. This is how we're going to do it. Any questions? I didn't think so.
Welcome to Lead Like a Girl, where we are empowering everyday women through our stories. I'm your host, Jessica Smith, and I began this journey by sharing my life story. Now, I've joined forces with my longtime friends, Jamie and Corlin, to keep this party going. We met many years ago as young sales girls in our 20s, driven and quickly rising to the top of our industry. As the years went on, life happened, and we all found ourselves in new companies and completely different industries, still striving for success in it all. Career, family, faith, fun. Now, it wasn't easy, but we never stopped moving. Get ready for our real conversations, inspiring stories, and our big life lessons as we share it all. The good, the bad, and the funny. Welcome to Lead Like a Girl. Welcome back to another episode of Lead Like a Girl. I am your host, Jessica Smith, and today I need you to buckle up because this is not a regular episode. In fact, this episode, I am here representing the VP of WOCAN, Women of Color Automotive Network, and today I get to sit down with two of the women who built what I get to be part of and the president of one of the most important organizations in the automotive industry, NAMAD, the National Association of Minority Automotive Dealers. And we are headed to Miami, y'all. Are y'all excited? I know I'm excited. Like this is
favorite time of the year.
Absolutely. This is my favorite time of the year. I can't help it. I always say it feels like a family reunion for me, where you're going to see all your cousins and you get excited about that. Figure out your outfits way in advance, right? The conference is coming. And before we get there, you need to hear this conversation. So let's get right into it. And listen, I'm not going to even attempt to list out every accomplishment of these three because we just don't have time for that right now. Frankly, we don't. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask, and we talk about this all the time, ladies, it ain't bragging if it's true. So I'm just going to call on you and I'm going to give you like 60 seconds. We have the two of our four founders of WOCAN, and that's Kerri Wise and Amanda Gordon. And like I said, the president of NAMAD, the National Association of Minority Automotive Dealers, Perry Watson. Don't want to leave out the fourth. So I'll let you just real quick in 60 seconds introduce yourself and who you are, where you work, and one of your highlights if you were introducing you on I'm going to say a major podcast because we'll get there. So Kerri, go.
Okay. Oh gosh, 60 seconds. So let me fit this in. I've been working in automotive for 27 years, I think it is, since 98, 99.
Girl, you look good.
Thank you. I've worked at some of the biggest brands in the industry, from marketing research, JD Power and Associates, to tech companies like Edmunds, TrueCar, AutoFi. Oh my God, the list is getting longer and longer. Lot Links, and now CarNow. I've served in all kinds of capacities, mainly in the analytics, training, and now overseeing marketing departments for many years. So I've done all the functions on the vendor side, working with OEM clients and dealer clients, and just love this business. Fell into it like everybody else fell into it. And I'm here to stay. Also co-founded WOCAN. And it's just an advocate for, helping women advance in this industry, helping people of color, and just being a representative of what's possible in this business. So there's my story. I'm sticking to it.
Yes. And I was just bragging, if you have not checked out, and maybe it's not out there yet, but Kerri lit up the stage at WIA recently. I mean, a phenomenal job telling your story. And I was inspired in the audience, crying and laughing all at the same time. So
Thank you.
the Amanda Gordon.
Hey, everybody. It's me, Amanda G., proud owner of Gojo Auto here in Denver. I've been in auto retail. I started my career with Honda back in 2002, started selling. I was recruited, knew nothing about the industry, and fell in fast love. And here we are 24 years later. 2018, I became the first Black woman to own a car dealership in Colorado, which was completely wild. And I immediately felt as though I had an obligation, even though I was the first to not be the last. And so WOCAN has helped me tremendously see that goal. I have on my vision board that I created in 2018 that I wanted to help 20 women get into the industry. And last time I checked, WOCAN has almost 2,000 members, which is just mind blowing when you think about when the co-founders sat down and started this organization with just the four of us and an idea. And so it's definitely a beautiful passion project. And something I'm super proud of is I have a son named Cash who goes to Prairie View HBCU in Texas, who's doing phenomenal. And I also sit as president of the Colorado State Dealer Board, which helps regulate dealers and salespeople. So I can stay committed to the industry that gives me so much. And I am looking forward to Miami.
Love it. I love that.
Amanda, I feel so guilty for leaving out my children. That is a really important job I also have, which is a 16 and 19-year-old daughter. So there, I got that in.
There you go. Kerri, if it helps, I left out my husband.
Okay. I don't have one of those, but yes.
And I do have to say, one of the reasons that I have pushed so hard to do more in this industry is because of my dear friend Kerri Wise. She is a complete inspiration to me, among so many other women. So I do have to say that out loud, to give my girl her flowers.
That's what we do here at Lead Like a Girl. So, Kerri, I probably should have started with you because, how do you introduce yourself, Kerri?
No, well, listen, I am just in the atmosphere of the rock star, so I am definitely okay with going last. So my journey started, actually, Kerri, you and I got in the business around the same time. I got in 1999. Long story short, started out as working at my family's dealership in Brooklyn Center, Minnesota. So I started scraping off, ice off the windshields. And you guys remember when you used to put up the price tags in the car, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that parlayed into me becoming an assistant general manager eventually several years later at that store. And then moving on to being the general manager of our Lexus store and eventually buying into partial ownership. We sold that dealership in 2020. And then I actually worked for a few operational excellence partners like Kerri, and eventually ended up here as a NAMAD president. But I've been involved with NAMAD ever since my family was in the business. So I have been the secretary, vice president, and president of NAMAD Next Generation. So I've been very close to NAMAD's operation. So it's an honor and a privilege to be the president of the organization and get to represent our members such as yourselves, in the industry. It is quite an honor. So that's, in a nutshell, that's the Perry Watson, the fourth story.
I love that. And Perry, who's Perry personally? Do you golf a lot?
I wouldn't quite call it golf. It's more like, hitting the ball.
Okay.
But yeah, personally, I am a father. I have a 22-year-old son who's actually Perry Josiah Watson the fifth. I know it's crazy, y'all, right?
Wow.
Wow. I have,
how long are we going to keep this thing going, Perry?
all I can tell you is my job's done. How about that? And then I have an amazing daughter who's turning 17 in a few days, who's thank goodness she has my wife's brains and my athletic capability. So she's
Awesome.
an awesome student athlete, and been married for 20. It'll be 26 years in September. So, we're just the Watson tribe over here, trying to row the boat, man, row the boat.
I love it. Yep, I know that's right. So we always start off here on Lead Like a Girl with a little quick icebreaker. So I won't be long, but since we're all here in the car business, just real fast, tell me, first car you ever owned.
I defer to the ladies.
Mine's 1985 Chevrolet Citation, two-tone brown, and I got it in 93. So just to be clear, like it wasn't a new car or anything like that. I think it was an 81. It wasn't an 85. It was an 81. And I got it in 93 though.
Okay, I was just talking about this. A 1992 Hyundai Accent, manual transmission, manual windows, and my mom gave me a 30-minute lesson on how to drive a manual and then said, follow me home. And I cried, I snotted, I had anxiety attacks, all of it, but I made it home.
Yeah, that's hard living, Amanda.
Yeah.
It was.
Yeah.
She ran a tough program.
So I just want to make clear that I got my first car as a junior in college. And it was a Dodge K-Car, Carolina University blue station wagon. So I pulled up on them at the party, and nobody wanted to be in that car. But me and Tyrone were like this. We were
Oh, that is hilarious. Well, I had a 1990 Ford Escort, and that was a little car for a big girl back then. So that was a joke in my family, but that was my first car.
Nice.
Excellent.
All right, one more. What's something that people would be surprised to know about you?
All right, I have two. And I actually think I have. Oh, I thought I had a prop nearby, but it's not. I had it before. So one, I was a Division I basketball player. So I was a 3-sport athlete in high school. So from my 7th to 12th grade, I won best athlete every single year, and I played D1 basketball. So people don't know that about me. I can still play. I just tied with my boyfriend yesterday when we did one-on-one. But the thing that surprises people because they know me as an athlete is I was a national baton twirling champion at 10. And I still have my baton and I can still twirl.
Wow.
Nice.
Run tape. Run tape.
Nice.
And I had it. I was about to go grab it. And it was usually right here.
That's hilarious. What you got, Amanda?
Okay. I also played fast pitch my whole life, played traveling ball. So baseball is my favorite sport. And then I am a whiz at trivia, like useless knowledge. You cannot compete with me. I'm Jeopardy level. And I know all things about everything, but nothing about everything also. So there's that.
My God.
Wow.
You and my sister Monique need to be friends because that's exactly what I say about her all the time.
I'm as competitive
man,
about
this
trivia as Kerri is with basketball.
This has been super helpful. I didn't know, ladies. This is awesome.
We need NAMAD 3-on-3. We need NAMAD 3-on-3.
Right.
I like it. Yeah. Well, for me, I would say the two things. One, I'm a massive Prince fan. And I actually had the opportunity to meet him in Detroit at the Detroit Music Hall. And I was so starstruck, I just looked at him. But it was awesome. It was during his wife did a play to his music when he was married to Maite.
Oh, wow.
But awesome experience. And then also, you may or may not know this, but I actually am a former member of the Asian boy band group BTS. If you listen closely, you can hear me. I tell my kids all the time, I'm like, see, did you hear me? Did you hear me? So I'm actually a former dancer from college. I actually danced in several groups. Those days are far behind me now.
Like hip
But
hop dance?
I need the footage.
yeah,
MC
man.
Hammer, background dancer,
No,
dancer.
Listen,
I
listen.
mean,
we're gonna
I
need a
mean, Perry, at the parties, I don't even see you dancing at the NAMAD parties.
No,
Like,
look,
what's
I'm right here when it comes to the
You're not even
dance.
you're not even in the middle of all of it.
I need proof. I need proof
Now
of
we need
life.
proof
I
at
need
name
proof
that
of life.
yeah, you
at the party.
Yeah,
told the wrong audience this information, Perry.
Right, right.
Yeah,
I got
we're gonna
myself
have
in trouble. I done
yeah,
got myself in trouble.
Wow.
yeah,
Oh,
we're gonna have
that's
to make
good.
Well, the
sure.
great thing is we have an opportunity to see him in action at name that.
Real
Hmm.
soon,
Hmm.
real
Hmm.
soon, real soon.
Couple opportunities.
Well, I'll just share one quick one. Mine is that my mother is 100% Mexican. Why that is so surprising for people. See, look at all of your faces. You did the same thing that most people.
Yeah.
They're like, what?
Mm.
So yeah, so that's a fun fact that surprises people for whatever reason. But my mother is Mexican. My dad was Black. Culturally, I identify as a Black woman because that's kind of how I grew up. But doesn't
Mhm.
change the fact that my mother is a whole Mexican woman. So
Nice.
that is
Awesome.
mine.
That is a good one.
So let's get right into it. I want to start off by just take us back where this idea of WOCAN started. Like, what did you see in the industry that made you say somebody has to do something here? Where did it start? So tell us that story. Who wants to?
I think Amanda should kick off.
Okay,
Go.
Amanda.
And I was deferring to Kerri. It's funny because on these meetings, like I'm looking at Kerri, but she doesn't know I'm looking at her.
Right.
um, I think so. I know it was right when George Floyd happened. This was August of 2020, and we were tired. We were exhausted by what was happening within our community and nothing being done about it. We as Black women carrying so much, especially having Black children, that we have to teach very different rules and regulations about how to operate within our society. And all four of us were the only ones within our respective industry. Kerri in marketing, Patrice in mechanic service industry, and Erica in retail, and then myself on the independent side. And we were tired, and we knew that we weren't the only ones. And we literally, within that moment, said, let's do something about it. And WOCAN was birthed. And thankfully, we have, Kerri, Patrice, and Erica are some very high achieving women, and they were able to execute WOCAN's plan of putting together some forums during COVID. Everything was online. I think the timing was perfect. It was a perfect cocktail of being able to reach a lot of people virtually, because everyone was moved to the virtual platforms. And it grew like a ball of fire very quickly. And DEI was a buzzword. And so we had a lot of corporations that were backing WOCAN and saying, hey, we know this is a problem and we want to help you do something about it. So we were able to fundraise and give scholarships and create a voice on a platform that was very necessary and continues to be very necessary, obviously, by how much we're growing and how much impact it's had. So that's how it was started, and that's how it continues to grow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
Well, I was going to say, I think we thought we were the only ones, like, in
Mhm.
the industry, and we were wrong. But I felt like that because, any conference you go to, one, you're going to be one of the few women, no matter what
Mhm.
conference that is. And even from a woman's event standpoint, we might be the only Black women in the entire room, or one of few Black women. And so, as a population of women of color that represent 18 to 20% of the workforce, we didn't see that in automotive. In fact, I think at the time the numbers we were like 6% of the automotive industry. So we were probably one of the more underrepresented cohorts there is, right, in automotive. And so, yeah, we created it for ourselves so that we can show up and actually see 20 women, 30 women. And that's kind of all we thought we would really get out of it. I don't think we ever thought there'd be 1,400, 1,500 women joining this movement. And so we were surprised in some ways by our own success.
Yeah,
Right.
that's what I was going to ask. I know as a member, specifically for me at that time, there was so much going on, one in our country. And then I was only 2 or 3 years into the automotive industry, and I'm deciding, like, am I going to stay? Like, is this place actually me? And so when I say the timing was very good for me, it was exactly what I needed at that time as well, because it was heavy. And so it really was what I needed. Now, Kerri, tell me, when you think back then and now, how has this organization changed? And not just from the number of members, but allies, sponsors, like what have you seen over the years in terms of the change?
Yeah, I think when we first started, like I said, I think we thought of it as we're going to have a Zoom call and there's going to be like 20 of us and it's almost going to be like a support group. And
Right.
at the time that was enough because everything was virtual. It was 2020 and we did a lot of that. We did them every single month just to really give hope and inspiration at that moment. I think what we've matured to now is helping women of color level up. And so you think about, Solera and our leadership academy that we've done. We have all these companies that have come in and done training like Chase with financial workshops that they're doing. We're about to do something with Podium. So I think if you think about it, we've gone from support group on the small scale to now, how do we help these women level up in terms of education, leadership skills? We've also done a lot more scholarships as well. I think we've racked up maybe close to $100,000 in scholarships where we're actually sending women out to all of these different industry events that they really wouldn't have been a part of if it wasn't for WOCAN. So I think we've just really scaled and helped women level up at a higher level than when we first launched.
Absolutely. Yeah, I love that. And before I kind of shift over to talking about the partnership with NAMAD and WOCAN, the last thing I want to touch on is, what would you say is like that one thing that when you think about the accomplishment, it just brings you chills? I'm going to ask that of both of you. What is that one thing from the beginning until now that you think is WOCAN's, like that moment that just really is special to you in terms of what you've accomplished?
Amanda, did you want to start?
There's two for me. The luncheon every year, it brings tears to my eyes the moment we walk through the threshold. And being a co-founder, we get early access, and when there's no one in there and it's quiet and you see each year how progressively the room gets bigger to accommodate the women that we've grown with is just amazing. And then the scholarship recipients. Earlier this morning, I got off the phone with one and I was crying because she was crying, because you would have thought when I called her to tell her she was awarded a scholarship that I was Bob Barker calling, with the home sweepstakes. It was such a big deal to her. I mean, you just made my week. Oh my goodness. And she started crying and I started crying. Now we're crying and happy tears. And that's the impact it's had. And it's beautiful and it never gets old. That never gets old.
Yes.
Yeah, I would also say the event. Remember, our first couple of years, we didn't have an annual event. If it wasn't for NAMAD, and shout out to Damon Lester at that time too, right? And he came to me and said, "Hey, you guys should have an event. You could have it at NAMAD." And Kerri was one of our first sponsors on the vendor side when he was on the vendor side. And so I think for us, the event, it started off with, we had 75, 80 women. And last year we had 150 women. And so just the growth of that is important. And I think for me also, back to like touching individual lives, like I oftentimes forget how important WOCAN is for the individual. Like I can see it in the broad sense, but when you get that woman that calls you and says, "Hey, thank you for," really, even like I just spoke at Women Automotive, and I mean, the number of women of color that pulled me aside and said, "Oh my God, thank you so much. Thank you for being up there and sharing some of our story." Like that keeps me motivated for sure.
Yeah, I love that. And, just being the VP of WOCAN, for me, the most important work that I've been able to do and how I've been able to serve. I'll share real quick. Last year, there was a woman who won a scholarship to the NAMAD conference, and from China, she gets back and she was laid off of her job. And she called me. She first sent me a message on LinkedIn. I gave her my number. She called me. Do you know, it's been almost a full year. And not only is she, I call her a friend of mine now. Like, I partnered with her to help her with interview prep, with reaching out to my network. She finally got a role. She's on a prayer call with me Monday through Friday and leads the call. She is probably, I will forever, first of all, I don't know if you ladies know this. She's told me, I don't know how I would have made it through this season without this support. She was introduced to me by Stephanie, that she worked with her. And it was just like that type of connection that you ladies may not even know, that you are impacting someone's life, that outside of this organization, how she would have made it through this season, who knows? And strengthen her faith, like all of these things. So I think we need to share those stories more, because you guys know you're doing great work out here, that this thought and this dream that you had is making a difference, but it is really making a difference, and it has made a difference in my life. So I want to get into, Kerri, you kind of teed us up real well to talk about, the partnership here. Kerri, or when you think about WOCAN, like when did you first hear about WOCAN, and how did this relationship start?
Yeah, I was thinking about that, and I think I had heard about WOCAN through automotive news, and I had reached out to Kerri, and we had an amazing conversation. And at that time, my only thing was, hey, how can I help and support? Because I knew the numbers as well, in terms of women of color and the percentage in the industry. And I think, Kerri, you're right, it's somewhere between 6 and 8%. And I'm like, hey, this is very important. And so over the years, we've just sort of supported each other through the growth. And it's amazing to see where the organization has been. Kerri mentioned that I was over at Solera as the director of minority and women retail programs when NAMAD had offered the opportunity for them to start having the luncheon at the conference. And so we started working together prior to me coming into this role. So to sit here and to see this thing bloom into what it has become for women of color in this industry it holds a special place in my heart as well.
Yeah, NAMAD was kind of like, I thought of it as, and NAMAD has men and women, but I think at the time, I always thought of NAMAD as kind of the fraternity, and we were the sorority. Now, there are women at NAMAD, there always have been. But I do think the partnership made a lot of sense, because NAMAD had its set of women. I think we attracted some new women that had not ever been a part of NAMAD before.
Right. Yeah,
and so absolutely. I think that was the beauty in the partnership. I think one of the areas where NAMAD was like incredibly generous to us as really, I consider as a sponsor, is one, allowing us to have the space within their conference. I mean, talk about like sharing, your privileges and that takes a lot to open up your conference to, in essence, allow us to kind of compete, or we're overlapping sometimes, with certain components of NAMAD, but also giving our women tickets, or, allowing us to offer scholarships, because, buying a conference ticket is expensive. Sure. And so, yes, it's just, it's really, there's been so many synergies, but it's also allowed us to get access to these women that were already attending NAMAD. And if you look at some of these women that were attending NAMAD, they were very high powered. Right. They were from major OEMs. They were, dealer owners or next generation. And so it helped us also expand our membership base.
Yeah, absolutely. And Perry, for someone listening who has never heard of NAMAD, like
Yeah.
just give us like a version of what is it, what is it for? Why do you exist?
Yeah, so NAMAD started in 1980, and the whole purpose was to talk about the importance of inclusive economics. At the time, minority consumer growth was becoming large. If you look at it now, it's notated that in 2023, 33% of all new vehicles were purchased by minority consumers. So that's a third of the industry,
Mm-hmm.
right? And what we are here to do is to make sure that there is representation within those dealer networks of minority dealers, because the business case is very clear. Those consumers tend to buy at a higher clip when they see themselves in ownership positions. And so we have, that's our main focus. We really focus on five main things, which is retention of our members, dealerships, and them as members, expansion. So we work on trying to create capital partners for expansion of those dealers, training, which WOCAN is very familiar with,
Mm-hmm.
advocacy for our dealers, and then awareness of the NAMAD brand. And so, we're just blessed to be able to do the work. The business case is just growing because disposable income in our community is, at an all-time high, and will continue to grow. If you look at the population numbers, I think by 2050, we will be a major subsegment of the industry, if not the majority consumer base.
Wow. Yeah. And Amanda, I know that you are also a member of NAMAD. So, as a minority dealer yourself, what does that partnership look like from your perspective?
Well, it takes me back to my first NAMAD,
Mhm.
which was with Kerri. And I had never experienced anything like it before because I saw myself. And Jessica, you mentioned earlier, it's like a family reunion.
Yeah.
And not only did I see myself where I was, I saw where I could be. I
Mm,
had never seen African Americans or people of color for that matter in
yeah.
ownership. Now I'm in Colorado, it's 7% African American, and
Hmm.
so the demographics are slightly skewed here, but I never saw myself in that seat, and then let alone have women who could show me how to operate in that space graciously, successfully. And it was in that moment that I knew I found a home. And so NAMAD is very near and dear. And Perry has treated me like his little sister from the moment that we have met. And I see that with so many different people that Perry has touched. And it's an organization that is beyond necessary as far as I'm concerned. And it allows people the opportunity to grow and thrive, and connect, most importantly, to get those resources that our Caucasian counterparts have in their back pocket, so that we can elevate each other and continue to thrive. So NAMAD is very near and dear to my heart, and I'm so thankful that it's allowed WOCAN to be a part of NAMAD.
I love that. Perry, NAMAD, we said was founded, you said 1980. It's 2026. How does adding women of color to this mission change the conversation? How have you seen that impact your organization?
The funny thing is, it hasn't changed it at all, because the business case for women is actually stronger than the business case for minorities as a whole. I mean,
Mm,
I think the numbers right now, I think is 62% of new vehicles are purchased by women, and 94% of women are at the head of their households or involved in the financial decisions in their household. And so when you look at women overall, it's like, if you are an OEM, if you are a dealer, you can't ignore that segment of, car buyers. And I think when you look at minority consumers as a whole, women are at the forefront of that disposable income as well. So, whether it's Asian American, African American, Native American, or Hispanic American, it is an important thing to remember that you need to keep in mind, and you need to have diversity in your ownership and your staff. And I saw this in my own ownership um, experience where we were very intentional about representation, and it definitely made a huge difference in terms of our market share. So
Yeah.
that has been the message overall for NAMAD. And I think when we say inclusive economics, it's just that, inclusive of everyone.
Yeah, I love that. Now, Perry, tell us about, I think we're at, what is it, 46th annual NAMAD conference.
Yeah.
It is coming up. That even sounds crazy. This is like close to 50 years. Tell us theme, vibe, like who needs to be there? What do you got? What's your commercial on this conference coming up?
So the theme is in concert, right? Strategic alliance for strategic growth. And at the end of the day, when you think about it, it's like a violin is great and it makes beautiful music, but it pales in comparison to an orchestra, right?
Mm.
And so when we all work together, we can make incredible things happen. Whether you are a dealer, an OEM, an operational excellence partner, if we work together, everyone will win. And so that's really the message, is that there's an opportunity there. Long story short, when you think about what's happening with the U.S. auto market,
Mm-hmm.
there is this fist fight for market share. So the companies that get this right are going to be the companies that will end up on top. And it doesn't happen overnight. It has to be a relentless priority, and you have to be very intentional. And we're here as a partner to assist our business partners in accomplishing that goal.
I love that. So in the room, we're talking about, minority dealers, OEMs, sponsors, corporate allies, like everyone. And I feel like this thing is just growing and growing every year. Is that, what are you expecting in attendance?
Well, we're already at 1,000 attendees before we do on-site registration.
Wow.
And that's more growth than last year. And last year we had a record-breaking attendance. So we're just humbled that people find the value in the conference. And I think Kerri and Amanda said it best. It's a family reunion where we do amazing business.
Yeah.
I can tell you some stories of people getting deals as a result of coming to the conference, individuals who have gotten scholarships to go on through the NADA Dealer Academy or the NCM General Manager program, and really just, as you stated, Jessica, changing lives. And so we're just so thankful and so humbled that that our members, and I call them friends of NAMAD, find value in the conference and show up every year. And it's always great to get to know individuals and see their growth and how they've progressed over the years as well.
Yeah, I love that. So again, we're talking 46th annual NAMAD conference at the Fontainebleau in Miami, August 11th through the 14th. Kerri and Amanda, the WOCAN luncheon, August 11th, 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. at the Fontainebleau. Paint us a picture. What's happening in that room? Who needs to be there? All of that. What do you got?
So we are so excited. This is our 5th annual event. So we have a little catching up to do with NAMAD on the 46th. We're about 41 years behind, but we'll get there. But our 5th annual event, and we had 150 women last year. I expect at least that or more this year. It is we used to call it a luncheon. Now we're going to call it an event, because it's more than just lunch. We're going to have speed networking, which I'm really excited. We have not done that since our first year, and women love that, right? 2 minutes.
So good.
Right. So good. It was out of control, right? In terms of controlling the energy in that room.
Yeah.
We're going to have that again, where you can meet everybody. So if you're by yourself, no problem. Come to the event. We're going to have an amazing keynote speaker, Vivian Tu, who, if you know on Instagram, she's known as Your Rich BFF, financial expert. She does it in such a creative, fun way. And so we're going to hear from her. We're going to have a leadership workshop during the event. Of course, we're going to feed everyone. And this is for women of color, but it's also for our allies as well. We have white women that attend. So I
Yes.
just want to make sure. I always get a note every year from a white woman that's like, "Can I come?" And I'm like, "Yes, yes, you can come."
Everyone
And men.
everyone is welcome.
As well.
Yes.
So yeah, if you go to WOCAutonetwork.com, that's our website. You can register. Our tickets are only $120 for the event. And then of course, if you want to attend NAMAD as well, you'll have to purchase a ticket or apply for a scholarship through us.
Okay.
We're kind of running out of time. So, if you see this, go to the site like today and get your tickets.
Absolutely.
Amanda, would you add anything? Amanda's our host, by the way, of the event.
I know. I do. And I love it. I'm spoiled. I have the luxury of being the hostess
Do you know
for
what
the
you're wearing
luncheon.
yet? I'm just curious. Do
Oh,
you know?
girl, you know I do. I knew last year what I was wearing.
Yeah.
No, last year
You know she has custom.
Right.
Girl, yes. Yeah, so I'm thrilled. I'm excited about the speed networking. I'm really excited about Vivian too. This woman has 4 million followers on Instagram.
Wow.
A huge following, but her story about finance and all the things to kind of, as women, control your money, control your purse strings. So I'm really excited about her and all of our attendees, from people in retail to the OEMs, all the things. And it's just an exciting time. This genuinely is my favorite time of year when I get to see all my sisters and brothers at WOCAN and NAMAD. So it's just great. It's great.
Yeah.
And we're kicking off this year. We're on August 11th, which is different. We're always on the second or third day sometimes of NAMAD.
We're on the first day.
So we are the first day before, I guess, kind of as NAMAD is kicking off. And so just a reminder that it's the day before. But we are equally so excited about NAMAD. Amanda and I attended our first NAMAD. Was it 2019, Amanda?
Yeah, 2019.
We almost lost our minds. I mean,
no, we did. No, we did.
I felt like I couldn't even post any pictures from NAMAD because not only was I doing business, but I was having so much fun.
So much fun.
I almost felt guilty telling my company that I was like having this much fun. So, I mean, it is a life-changing event from an industry standpoint, being a part of NAMAD. And so if you haven't been a part of it, like WOCAN, NAMAD, you will not regret it.
Yeah, it's the place to be for sure. Kerri, I'd like to ask, what would you say in terms of, corporate sponsors listening? Like, why should they have a seat at this table? Like, why should they want to be involved?
Oh, wow. So I think for us, I'm a head of marketing. I do a lot of sponsorships myself. And you want to drive business and all of that, but like you also want to have impact as a company. And to me, being a part of a sponsorship of WOCAN and NAMAD for that matter, you're talking about impact. You're talking about changing, through that money, being able to influence an entire industry. You're talking about real deep a level of engagement and attendance, because we all have been to these events that are huge, right? Where there's tens of thousands of people and you end up talking to 10, right? Because for some reason, I don't know how it works out like that. I think with WOCAN and with NAMAD, the level of relationship and engagement that you have, while they may be smaller than some of, than the bigger, tens of thousands of it, you're engaging at a much deeper level in terms of networking, in terms of business. So for us, we also want to send women. I mean, for us, it's about the individual. And so we have amazing sponsors that are allowing us not only to host this event, but they are individually sending women to this event. And we need the help. We're a nonprofit and we appreciate it.
Perfect.
Yeah,
now,
absolutely.
Amanda, you talked about this a little bit. First Black woman-owned dealership. What do you want that legacy to inspire?
More women. I think being the first has a lot of pressure, but it also has so much opportunity. Because I've had a lot of grace, a lot of help, a lot of support because I'm the only one. And I think it being my obligation to set the table for those that come after me, and giving them the blueprint. I think one of the things that we've come against is gatekeeping. So I don't gatekeep here's it. If you are serious about automotive, caveat, if you are serious, here's the
Mhm.
playbook.
Yeah.
Here's the playbook. Here's where I bumped my head. Here's where I found my success. Here's my resources. Take off and run, girl. Run as
Yeah.
fast as you can, because this industry will support you and it will love on you as long as you love on it.
Yeah.
So just opening that door and setting that table for those that come next.
I said this about
I
Kerri,
love it.
Kerri, before you came on, that you have a book to write. And Amanda,
Yeah.
you have one too. You get that playbook. Like we all have books to
Yeah.
write,
Yeah.
because I'm a storyteller and I believe that
Hmm.
that book, a lot of people are waiting to buy your book. So you need to
Hmm.
write it. I'll
Yeah.
We've
that there.
discussed that. Carrie and I have
Right.
discussed that.
I got to execute now. I got to execute.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, yeah. Yeah. Find the time,
Right.
then execute.
We need to
Make the
Absolutely.
find a
time. Make the time. Yeah.
right. Or hey, listen, nowadays there's people. Y'all
That's
pay some
true.
people to do it. All you have to do is tell your story and they'll
That's
do the
true.
rest. So,
Hmm.
um, Kerri, you sat at the executive tables at some of the biggest names in automotive. What still needs to change for women of color in this industry?
I mean, I think you mentioned the word playbook, and I use that word a lot. And I think part of it is understanding that playbook because it's very, very confusing. And, one of the things I talked about in the latest speech I gave is that I like to be very vulnerable about the struggles of my career because when people see me as CMO of a company, they oftentimes think it was just so easy. Oh, she's just the exception that somehow went through, fit through the cracks. But the reality is it's not. It's not that easy because that playbook is something that most of us as Black people, as people of color, we just weren't exposed to. We weren't exposed to how to kind of navigate through this corporate world. And we weren't exposed to kind of the rules of engagement and how they change all the time, right? When we figure them out, they might change on us. And so that gets confusing, disheartening. And so I think part of it is giving women of color exposure to what it really, really takes, not the stuff that we may have learned from our parents or we saw in movies, but the real world.
Yeah.
And I often find in mentoring women of color that there is that confusion. I'm working hard. I'm doing all this stuff, yet I'm not being promoted.
Right.
Yet they're not seeing me. Now, once I move past what we have to do, also in terms of the system, we have to realize that by fishing in the same pool as an industry, we are not going to get innovation. We are not going to get the best minds and the thoughts. And so I put the pressure on us as women of color to handle our own. But as an industry, I challenge us that if we really want to compete, we need the best ideas. And talking to the same people is not going to get us there.
Yeah,
Right.
that's right. That's good stuff.
Great point, Kerri. Great point.
Perry, what does the future of minority dealership ownership look like? Like what's the dream?
So, I think we can all agree gas is not the only thing that's more expensive these days. It's dealerships as well. And so I think we have to be open to meaningful participation versus ownership, maybe our first time out of the gate. I also think we have to be open to partnerships, and we also have to partner for new capital structures because at the end of the day, the price of getting into the industry is definitely escalating. There are a lot of great opportunities. I always tell people if Warren Buffett is in the business, you know that there's interest from an investor perspective,
Right.
right? So we have to be prepared for that opportunity when it comes. But I think we need to solicit more investment in the opportunities that we're pursuing. And NAMAD is diligently working on that, partnering with large automotive groups, partnering with other, private equity, et cetera, trying to put together structure for dealer candidates. And I think that, at the end of the day, we're going to be best positioned when we get individuals who come out of, for example, we launched 3 years ago the NAMAD Dealer Ownership Academy, where we're preparing the next generation of dealers. Because the reality is, if you go through the industry, you may focus on one side of the store, sales or service. you rarely get a chance to cross train. With the academy, we expose you to all the operations as well as cash management. So now that next generation of dealers will be much more well rounded. And when it comes time for investment, I think we have an even greater story to tell to the investors. So I like where we're going, and I think we're going to get there much sooner than we anticipated as a result of, people like Kerri, Amanda, myself, you pushing the industry. And we just have to continue to do that and raise up the next generation of leaders. And I think we're going to be okay.
Absolutely. And this is for anyone. When we think about this NAMAD WOCAN partnership, what's the boldest thing that you can hope to accomplish together?
Well, I'll say it. As someone that would go through the leadership training at WOCAN and then come through the NAMAD Dealer Ownership Academy and then eventually go on to own a deal. Like what we're doing, all of us, we're putting together the structure to help that dream be realized. And, I think it's a beautiful thing because when we came into the industry, this structure did not exist.
Right.
And so we're leaving the industry better than we left it. And I think that's, that is what you should do, right? You should tend to the soil and make sure that you leave fertile ground for the next generation. So that's my perspective.
I love that.
That sounds like a challenge, a goal. I think we just someone write that down. Because
I love that. I remember, and I'm not going to name the OEM, but I remember years ago, owner of a dealership reached out to me, white guy, and said, "Hey, there's an OEM that does not have one single Black woman as an owner of a dealership in their franchise. Do you happen to know anybody?" And he literally submitted a lead to WOCAN because he could not, in his entire network, this guy owned 30 stores. He could not find one Black woman.
I never heard this story, Kerri.
A former general manager, and he needed someone with general manager experience. It wasn't like, and so he reached out, he submitted a lead. I could not believe it. I get on the phone. I find him 3 Black women who were general managers at some point in their career for him to at least
qualified.
Consider. But to think about that he had to come to WOCAN to find that, and to think about that I only had 3 in my entire network that I could even offer to him. So I do think that what Perry said about, how do we get more Black women, more Latina women, more Asian women as owners? Because I would think our representation's even lower than even that 6 to 7%, right, in the industry. And then I think for me, just the networking that you get within NAMAD, for me as a vendor, even I've exhibited at NAMAD. I've met some of my best clients and signed amazing deals. And so even our WOCAN members that are vendors, like being able to partner with NAMAD and meet dealers and do business, I think could also be a good synergy.
Yeah,
absolutely.
So quick rapid fire here as we get to closure of this wonderful episode, because I'd love to just stay on for the rest of the day because this is some good stuff, y'all. But ladies, best advice that you ever received from another woman in the industry?
Ooh. I had to really think about that one. It's interesting, and the reason why I'm struggling is because I think, for me at least, a lot of my mentors have been men.
I knew you were going to say that.
And I've had, I think, 2 bosses in my entire life that were women. Nobody that was a woman of color ever in my life. And so as you're saying that, all the advice that's coming up has been from men.
To answer the question now.
Perry might be able to answer that question. Amanda, what about you? Do you?
It's funny because I lead into Kerri a lot for advice. And yes, she has a mentor element. She's one of my best friends, but she has a mentor element. And I think, there's moments where she's told me to use my voice, even when it shakes, because there are times when we just, oh, it's not that serious, I won't say anything. It's all serious. Okay. And we need to say something
Yeah.
because if we don't speak up
Mhm.
for us, who will? And so I think that's the loudest quote that I can hear is just use your voice, because you're not just speaking for yourself, you're speaking for all of us. For those now, those that came before us, and those that come after. So use your voice in that moment where you say, maybe later I'll check that person who said that disrespectful thing or that undermining comment. I won't say anything. Use your voice. Use your voice.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think for me, it's probably more of an example that women have set for me in the
Yeah.
few bosses that I've had. And it was probably earlier in my career. And I think for all of them, I just saw excellence. Like
Yeah.
the women that I have worked with have been by far the most talented people, especially these women that were in leadership roles. And so the reminder for me is, and I say this sometime to Amanda too, is like, we got to be better in real life than we ever are on social, on, the perception of us. Like we got to deliver. We got
Yeah.
to deliver
Yeah.
excellence. And I've seen that in the women leaders that have come before me.
Yeah.
Carrie
And
says,
Yeah.
"Don't look good, be good." That's her phrase. Don't look good, be good.
wait,
You know
Yeah.
what?
I have to say, don't only look good, be good.
Don't only
Right.
look good. That's
Right.
really what it is.
Nice,
Like,
nice
yeah, I want,
clarification.
yeah.
Right.
But
Yeah,
Right.
but
be
you know
better
what?
than you are on.
I
Like to me, it's like social has caused us to think about our perceptions and our
Hmm.
images more than are you actually delivering.
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, you know what? I want to add to this. I think it's important because I didn't realize it until we started talking about this. I was very blessed to have several OGs involved in my career early on. Teresa Jones, who was a dealer principal
Mm.
of Northwestern
Mm.
Dodge. That's where I
Wow.
started training at in Detroit.
Wow.
And, I learned from her, the grit of getting up every day, being focused. She had to have 100 employees, sitting in those management meetings with her and just seeing how she ran the meetings and how she inspected what she expected,
Right.
Hmm.
right? And then Elena Fairhurst, who we all know was just
Yeah.
amazing. And what I learned from her is don't apologize for who you are.
Mm.
Hmm.
Elena showed up and she let you know this is what we're doing. This is how we're going to do it. Any questions? I didn't think so. You know what I mean? And she was one of the first Lexus dealers in the country,
Mm.
as well as a Dodge dealer. And so, we've had those women who have laid the foundation that I think, Kerri, Amanda, the WOCAN family are carrying on their tradition. So I know they are very proud of the work that's being done. And like I said, as NAMAD, to be able to support that is a real honor. So I just want to make sure that I shout them out because they were definitely big parts of my career, and I didn't realize what a rarity they were
Mhm.
Hmm.
until I really got further into my career, and so they were, really crown jewels of the industry or are.
I love that. Thank you for sharing. Well, listen, I said at the top of this episode to buckle up, and I hope that everyone listening today really felt that. These three are not just talking about change in this industry, they are the change in this industry. NAMAD conference, August 11th through the 14th at the Fontainebleau Miami Beach Hotel. And if you are a woman of color in automotive and an ally, right, of women of color in automotive, the WOCAN event on August 11th is where you need to be. So you can register, sponsor, learn more about all of that on either the WOCAN or NAMAD websites. They will have all that information you need, or feel free to reach out to anyone directly in a LinkedIn message or however you want. We can help you out. Kerri, Amanda, Perry, thank you for building something that makes the rest of us believe that it's possible. This is Lead Like a Girl, and it was great having you guys on today. Make sure that if you are watching on YouTube, that you subscribe to Lead Like a Girl Lab and follow us on all social media. Thanks again.